You picked it. I read it.
Be more than human.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Joseph Carroll. I write under the pen name J.R. Carroll. And today I just finished The Blade itself. Now, I put up a poll a few weeks back. Just wanted to see what you guys or which author you guys would like me to tackle next. And Joe Abercrombie won out, so I told everyone I was gonna start the First Law Trilogy, and so going through the Blade itself, uh, I'm gonna kind of cut to the chase here. I really liked it. Um, and it didn't seem like I was at the very beginning, but as I went through the book, especially like the latter third of the book, I mean, just really hooked me. Now I'll try to keep the beginning of this kind of just to my thoughts, and then maybe we'll go into some spoilers a little bit later. But to kind of um, you know introduce some characters, are we kind of have three main characters, but two of them really you just really start the book out with them. And the first is a character I've heard a ton about, Logan Nine Fingers. He's always seems to be at the top of people's lists, um, and I just love um, how he kind of introduced him as this awesome soldier, um, but yet he's actually kind of smart about it. He's not just like this guy is I can just run through everybody, but he's just like, yeah, best bet is just to run. Let's get away from let's get away from the situation. But he also is shown to have uh, a little bit of heart at the beginning of it. And then Galacta is the other main character that we're introduced at the beginning, and he has, I mean, he's a pretty tragic story, but also, I guess that tragic story is kind of trying to show you why he acts the way he is, but he is a terrible person, at least at the beginning of the book. Um, and then our third character was Luther, who at the beginning of the book, he's just a little like a pompous asshole. Kind of your preppy boy came from money. If you don't have some kind of status, you ain't shit type character. But he definitely evolves over time and becomes one of the better characters. Now, as far as Joe Abercrombie's writing style, um, I mean, he's called Lord Grimdark, and yeah, I mean it's everything's, I mean, pretty dark, but I mean it's not. I've read some stuff where you're just kind of doom and gloom, and this really wasn't that. And his writing seems, very accessible. His prose aren't too purple. Nothing that would be too hard to read, but he does kind of give you that period, I guess a little bit of medieval type writing, but not quite, not like Sapkowski in The Witcher. It's not. It doesn't seem like that far back. It kind of seems like a mixture of like 1700s writing with and mixed with medieval stuff. But yeah, I like the writing. I like the writing style. It's very easy. It's a decent sized book, but it went very fast. Just flew through it, and I got a feeling, like I said in that latter third of the book, that I don't normally get. I wasn't. I was like, all right, I'm trying to finish it today, and then I wasn't able to get into the book for a while, work and everything. And I was like, man, I really want to get into this book. I kind of like, I'm kind of sitting there like getting anxiety, like, let's finish this book. Come on, stupid work get in the way. Um, but overall, if you're looking for like a more gritty but more personal, because this book, you're really in with the characters. I mean, there is some world building, but I feel like this book is being set up to get you to like, or to get you be invested in these characters. And then the next two books is going to spread out, especially the way they kind of ended it. Um, that they're going on an adventure, so to say. Um, but I would really tell anybody, you know, uh, if you like more character-driven stories, this is a good one for you because I'm huge into characters. That's what makes the whole story for me. World building is great and everything, but if you don't have great characters, you don't have anything. Um, and Joe Abercrombie does that really well. Now I've heard rumblings that the quality goes down. Um, so I guess we'll see. Maybe that's because of the world building, because I kind of feel like that's where we're going. Um, but we'll see, because I will continue the First Law Trilogy. Now we'll get into some spoilers here. Now, at the beginning we see Logan. Uh, you know, he ends up saving Malachus, I believe his name is. He's like, Malachus is like, I'm an apprentice to this this big wizard. I want to say his name is Baez, possibly. Um, yeah, I think it's because there's a few wizards, but he's like, take me here and he'll help you out and everything. And there's even come they even came to a point where um, the apprentice was just telling him, just go ahead and leave me behind, you're not gonna make it. And he says something to the effect of like, oh, you need to drink this water, because he's like, oh, I'm not going to give you any of this water to the apprentice. And the apprentice is like, okay, you're going to let me die. He goes, no, because I need to drink it if I'm going to be able to carry your ass. Which I really like. And they were building Logan up as this like mythical character. I mean, through the whole book, they're like, oh, not the nine fingers of death, and all this stuff. And you got to see him fight in several times, but it didn't seem like it was anything crazy until like the end of the book. There's a you know a kind of a, I don't want to say a battle scene, because it's not like a big battle or anything, but he's fighting a bunch of people like in a few different rooms. And he has like a split personality, and like he snaps and turns into this like berserker savage. And he has one of the best lines in the whole book. This big guy comes in the room, and the big guy's like, he's like, oh, I'm gonna crack your skull open. And Logan Ninefingers goes something like, you fool. He says something like, you fool, I'm the one that does the killing. And then just, yeah, and it was a good battle. It ends up like smashing the guy's head in by headbutting him over and over again, which is awesome. And then you got Glocta, who is just he's like the Inquisitor. He tortures people for a living. And like at one point, like he like wakes up and he's like, "What's that smell?" And he's like, "Oh, I shit myself again." And I'm just like, what are we doing here? We're freaking writing about people shit in the bed. Um, but I mean, he's like weaving his way through these political, stuff, and like taking down like high-ranking officials that people will think are kind of untouchable, and he's like torturing them and getting them to, admit to all these crimes, whether they did them or not. But he does kind of reconcile with another main character, West, who was who was like his buddy when they were kids. And I guess what happened is Galacta got captured by the enemy in the last war and tortured for 700 days. But and he like hates everybody. He's miserable, and but in the end, him and Wes kind of reconcile at the end because, Galacta thought nobody came to see him after he got back from being tortured. And apparently, Wes went there twice, but Galacta's mother turned him away, and then one of the servants turned him away. And he was like, oh, it's kind of like you know, they kind of bro hugged it out. They're like, you did come back to see me, but make no mistake, this guy is still ruthless and an asshole. Um, and then you have um, Pharaoh and I don't know how to say his name, Yulvi or something along those lines. But this chick, there's something about her, like she's kind of superhuman in a way. Like she's an archer and she like never misses. But when they can't, she was like when we first meet her, she's like burying these people that she was with, even though she didn't like these people. Like she's escaped. She was like a slave or something and escaped. And she hears this guy behind her and she tries to shoot him. And she's like, I guess she's really close. And the arrows just go side to side, go away from him. Um, and, kind of turns out, he is, a mage. Um, and these, like, the magic's not very well like described out. It's at least so far it seems like a very soft magic system, but they just seem to be able to do whatever they want. Like Baez, who's another main character, which is like ends up traveling with Logan. Um, like he just explodes people like the one chick from The Boys. Like he multiple times he's made people just explode or set them on fire. um and he's supposed to be like hundreds of years old, and he's like this legend coming back to the main city there. And there's been like this tower that is like been locked for hundreds of years, and it's always said like, oh, if this person comes back to like they save them a seat on the council or whatever. But it's supposed to be like mythological, no one's taken that seat, but he comes back and he's like, yeah, that seat's mine. And we find out that he's the real deal. He opens this tower that's never been opened, and it's all kinds of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey in this freaking thing. Like time doesn't go right. Like the way like they're walking, they don't go upstairs or downstairs or anything. They're just flat level, and then they come out to this balcony or whatever, and they're like above the city, like way above the city. And they're like, we didn't go up. Like, and Glocta was there, and he's like, how was this possible? We didn't go upstairs. We never traveled upstairs. Um, and there's this weird thing where like magic's kind of out there in the open, but some people don't believe in it. So I guess that's one thing that maybe he'll flush out a little bit more. And there's these crazy like things called eaters. They're like people, but they're magical in their own way and kind of kind of invincible to normal like damage. Like Pharaoh like shoots one through the chest and it doesn't do anything. I think one got stabbed or whatever. And yeah, I think Baez ends up stopping him with magic. Um, but one of the other characters, or a character that kind of grew on me, was Luther. At first, he's that you know preppy kid boy from rich family that like looks down on everybody. Um, but he's getting trained by Wes to go into this fencing tournament, and at first he just complains about, oh, you're training me too hard, blah 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 blah. And then he meets up with you Artie, which is Wes's younger sister. And he's like, I can't explain it. She's not like traditionally beautiful, but she is beautiful. And then he kind of says, well, I'm gonna impress her by becoming a really good swordsman. And actually starts putting forth effort, does really well in the tournament, and makes it all the way to the finals. But he's like getting beat by this giant guy, um, and I want to say Baez ends up using magic, like giving him energy and strength through magic. Nobody could tell except for Galacta knew something was up, but the guy and he ends up beating the guy, and he's the talk of the town and everything. And at the end of this, Luther was supposed to be going with because he's in the army. He's supposed to be going with his friends and whatever to be. He's kind of like a leader in the army, like a platoon leader or something. Um, but the like the head of the army or whatever intelligence decides to send him south, and I want to say that he's sending him with Logan Nine Fingers Pharaoh, and I wonder maybe Baez is going with him. One of the mages is going with him, but they're headed south, and that's kind of where it kind of opens up. Is like we're going to the end of the world. It's kind of one of the last lines. Um, so I mean, I really like this book. Not much is kind of censored through here. Some of the, like he keeps it real with like characters that are disabled and stuff. They're like, yeah, this is kind of what happens. It's not pretty. And yeah, I mean, they say he's like Lord Grimdark, but I mean, uh, it wasn't the darkest book I've ever read, and not that I've read a ton of grimdark books, but though there were some dark things, but there's also some like really light sections, the really fun sections. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Joe Abercrombie continues, and maybe I'll be doing one First Law a month and try to finish it out in January. But I appreciate you guys for your input. And I'll probably be doing some stuff in the future with you guys helping me pick my TBR. So until next time, have a good one.